Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first session of The Infinite, the Imra Saga's newest streamed game. And potentially best. Who knows? I've got a lot of catching up to do to be the best, but one day you've got to aspire to something. And that's what we are all going to do with this game. We're using a very, very loosely based on 5e system, but it's so if some rules don't make sense, that's because they're new, but we're all learning it at the same time, except for me. I wrote it, and I'm learning it about 5 minutes before everyone else. I'm going to start the first session by getting each player to introduce themselves, and I'm going to get them to do it by seniority on the Imra saga. So Andrew first, all the way through to Madi, who joined last.
Right. I am Andrew, your long-time dungeon master. I am just a player. You are familiar with the show at all. You know me. Here, I do D&D things, and I'm excited to play. I'm going to be playing... Are we doing character names, too?
Yeah, you can tell people your character name. It shows up on the overlay already.
I'm going to be playing Valis Canto here on The Infinite, and I'm very excited.
Charlie.
I am Charlie, just a player, now and always. Thank you for that, Andrew. Very flattered. I am playing Nyx, and that's all I got. That's all I got to introduce myself. I do D&D things.
Kristen, you're next.
Yeah. I am Kristen. I am a player today. I had to make it through several rounds of callbacks to get through to this point. I will be playing everyone's favorite little gardening droid, 3FL, who today is going to be called Conifer.
I'm looking forward to every week. I'll just ask you what 3FL's name is at the start. That's going to be our one tradition starting this off. Chris.
Hey, I am Chris. I am a player. You may have seen me briefly in a mini campaign for the Imra Saga, playing a character named August. But today I am playing a character known as Kidren Umoak.
And last but not least, Madi.
Hi, I'm Madi. I was in one of the little mini campaigns recently for the Immer Saga. I run some D&D games of my own, not streamed, but just for fun. And I'll be playing a lovely human by the name of Lucira Shemdir.
That is the cast. I am Jack. I think I probably mentioned, but if I didn't, you should know me because I've been literally on everything that the Imra Saga has ever done. But that leaves us with nothing to do but get into it. And we start a grand space adventure on a small planet, sandy as all planets that start off sci-fi epics must be. And sitting on the roof of a building, a father and their child, and the child looks up and says, "Father, what's up above the sky?" And the father looks up, answering one of those questions that kids just ask that you have to somehow know the answer to, even have any knowledge of the greater universe. And he says, "Well, of course, the gods." And the child says, "And above the gods? Well, I guess just a lot of space. A lot of space. Other gods, probably, but an infinite amount of space." And as they kind of start to contemplatively think, firstly, a child's wonder, and secondly, a father clearly out of his depth with this philosophical conversation, the camera pulls up and up and up and past where we see constellations that appear only within the pantheon of that planet's gods into space. And the camera zooms at light speed through systems and sectors and galaxies and universes as they spiral all together. And we land on one. And as it zooms in, We see fighters darting in and out of asteroids, trying to pin down another ship. We see enormous space creatures floating almost planet-sized on their own. We see spectral and spiritual powers bursting and ebbing and flowing as time takes this galaxy in particular. And we zoom further and further through, zeroing in on one speck of black against the infinite space. And that speck, as we come closer and closer to it, begins to take on form. And at first it just looks like a space station, floating as they all are wanted to do. But it becomes to look more and more like an anatomical heart. Its chambers, two at the top, smaller, connected by all of these different walkways and causeways, both automatic and manual, dropping into two larger ventricles at the bottom. And we see before us the space station, the heart, once the heart of the great Vaishian Empire, now a relic of the past somewhat, as they have moved their capital. And into this space station, it's maybe, as much as time can ever matter in space, it's maybe mid-afternoon, as we see a sleek silver ship pulling into the grand hangar. The ship ripples through the force field. This station, as most are equipped with cutting-edge shield technologies, where a ship can just pass straight through it. It never breaks the airlock. There's like a 1 second period where a slight vacuum is created, but the ship is in, and it lands, and we see it softly set its metal down on the floor of this hangar. A walkway kind of telescopes out, doesn't fold out or anything, it just telescopes downwards, and then a door that was seamless to the rest of the side of the panel opens. A couple of kids sprint down, anxious to be, for some of them, home, and for others on vacation in this, what would be probably a sad vacation spot if you really had to think about it. And more of these passengers flock off, until finally a metal foot hits the top of the walkway. As we see Conifer, could you please describe yourself stepping off this ship into the heart?
Conifer is posture-wise standing up as straight and as tall as they possibly can, which isn't that tall. They're only 5'2". They're a little thing. From a distance, they look very humanoid. So from a very long distance, you would very much think that they were a short little human person. But up close, they still look very metallic and are very obviously a droid. They've got on their favorite pair of overalls and like a little flannel jacket, and they're holding their straw hat like grasped in their hands and are just looking up and around.
You see a huge, this is an enormous hangar. There's like a lot of ships docked here, not permanently, but for like longer stays. Your ship, you probably know from your general nature of trying to talk to a lot of people that they're just dropping you off, and then they're on to the next destination. There will be, they'll pick people up, but there's like an inbound hangar and an outbound hangar for like transport ships in particular. As you step down, the kids that had run off first have like met some of their like older parents or older relatives, and they're like jumping around. It's very lively. What is immediately noticeable to you is that there's no plant life in this hangar. It might be the first time you've been somewhere with literally no vegetation, because even on this ship, this extremely nice ship, they had a lot of like potted plants and stuff to make it feel like it was more outdoorsy. There's a kind of a greeter for the heart. This place, as I said, used to be the capital of the empire, but it rained, and its time in the sun has certainly dwindled. So this greeter looks a little bit put upon to be doing the job at all. They've got like a clipboard, and you can see on the clipboard from your vantage point a bunch of little brochures of like different things to do on the heart. As you-
So I think. Do you have anything else you want to say? I'm sorry if I jumped.
No, feel free.
Okay. So Conifer, I think, is going to immediately make a beeline for this greeter with the pamphlets. But also as they're doing that, like, they put their hat back on their head and they like reach into like their bag and they are gonna start like playing around with this vine that they have picked up recently. Just to like remind themselves that there's green, there's physical life like in the world that they can still attach themselves to. And they'll walk up to the greeter and stick out their hands for the brochures, and then also maybe ask if there are any job postings anywhere.
You feel the vine connect to you as much as you use it to connect everything else. It like starts to suck a little bit of the energy out of your hand, in a not damaging way. And as you walk up to the greeter's like, "Hi, welcome to the heart. Hi, welcome to the heart." He realizes that he said it to you the third time when he's saying it the third time. He goes, "Oh, brochures," and he's like, hands you out. He gives you like a bunch of brochures. There's like 6 of them thick. One's like nightlife on the heart. One's like where to go to eat on the heart and things like that. He says, "Are you looking for anything in particular on your stay on the heart?"
Well, 2 things. First, which of these is your favorite?
This one, because it's the lightest, and he like pulls one out, and it's like a once in a lifetime events on the heart, and he like hands it specifically to you.
And, okay. And can you please point me to maybe where there's some job postings or like where I can connect into the space Wi-Fi?
Sure. As soon as you step through those doors, you'll be able to connect to the station network. It will come up with the normal protocols. You simply put in your identification numbers, and you will be connected. Job postings you can find on the network if you like. Otherwise, there are several places. The Central Plaza would have some. If you're looking for more corporate work, you could go to the corporations directly. I'm mainly here to explain tourism.
Well, then explain tourism.
He realizes that he's now put in a position where he has to explain the concept of tourism. Says, well, you come here and you enjoy the sights, the sounds, the once-in-a-lifetime things that happen on the heart. And in return, we get money and commerce and economic growth.
It's incredible. You're very good at your job. Conifer writes down this definition of tourism. And then we'll give the greeter a wave and then like start walking towards where they were pointed to because they need to get connected to the network.
He took such a long time to register that compliment that he kind of turns to your like retreating back and says, if you're interested in the natural life of the heart, the Central Plaza has a garden.
Thank you for letting me know. You're very good at this.
The first time he thought you were being sarcastic, but that time he does smile, and you feel like you've improved his day.
Excellent.
As soon as you step out, you get like the little ping on your smart slab. You don't have direct network interfacing capabilities in your casing. Your smart slab has it. You get the little ping. You have to put in like your identification number, which for you is like, for most people, it's like a long string of like 28 generated digits. For you, it's like a very strict like serial number that you were made with, and there's only like 5,000 thus far. So you're somewhere in like the late 4,900s. Maybe somewhere in the 4,000s. We'll work that out later. You put that in, and you start getting these a bunch of ads. And the ads are all just echoing things in your pamphlets.
Okay, so as Conifer, I think Conifer will like continue to walk towards like this central garden that
There's
the
a lot of
creator.
signs that say Central Plaza.
Yeah.
It's like a big.
And then like as they're walking, they do like try to shift through the ads to get to where like they might be able to pick up like a job that'll take them to one of the planets that they haven't like gotten their feet on the ground yet.
So the planets that you're looking for, based on your seed, so far you don't have any leads on them beyond the one that you already did. But going to actual planets where like botanists live might be the best way to go anyway. The as you're kind of heading through the station, it does start to pick up. There are like some trees. At first, they are more artificial. You're starting at the very bottom of the left chamber of the heart, the lower left chamber, and as you're heading up, you kind of start to see spiraling up from the very base this one large tree, and it kind of breaks through the floor above. And as you step closer to it, it breaks through all the floors, and you can see some 1,000 feet up the canopy of this tree.
So this tree is obviously like alive.
Yeah, this is a living tree. It's like equivalent to a great oak, but maybe slightly taller even.
Where is so am I on the level of like at the base level of it, like at the root level?
Yeah, so you're not at the root level. There's obviously like some maintenance areas below you that is not accessible to public. This is like the where the trunk starts, and it seems from all the signage that this shoots all the way up to be also the focal point of the central plaza.
Conifer is going to get up to like the trunk and is like gonna place their hands on the base that they can get at. And I think that they might want to or what kind of vibes are they getting? Like, does this tree seem like it's happy here?
Make me an understanding check and then a perception check. With wisdom for both.
First dice roll of the game.
Which one are you doing first? Understanding?
Yes. Let me make sure I can still do the syntax correctly.
I really love that this is the first roll of the game. How does this tree feel?
I just this is going to set the tone for the rest of the entire game. This first roll.
I like that. The stream will have been able to see the stat line I just rolled.
Yeah,
it's an unrelated stat line.
I have too many screens pulled up. Okay, it's
a lot of dropped ones.
1 D20 plus a number that I have 8.
1 billion. Surely.
This is a good one. Also, for the experts in the party, I'm not going to say who they are yet, but I don't know what your reliable skills are, and I don't know what your expert stuff that you've chosen for is. So if either of them apply, remember them yourselves.
And then you said perception.
Perception for the second one. As you're touching it, the tree's extremely old, and you do generally get kind of a vibe from plants as you're touching the bark of this one. It is, at best, what you get is that idea of it just being contentedly asleep, but you don't know if that's you projecting your newfound like instinctive want for plants. Like, you would want this tree to be content, so maybe you're trying to say that it's content, but you can't differentiate that. As you're touching the tree, you do notice that there are a pair of they're wearing suits, but suits that to anyone except for maybe Conifer on the space station look a little bit out of date. The suits are really heavily padded as well, and they're watching you, and you kind of understand that they're watching you to make sure that you don't do anything bad to the tree. And you notice that this tree, despite having no ropes or anything blocking it, is pristine. There's no like carvings that someone might have done into a tree in a moment of drunken passion or something like that. This is a well looked after tree.
Conifer is going to walk over to this. How many are they clumped together, or is there?
Yeah,
Like,
there's two of them, and they are clumped together.
Conifer will walk over to the pair. I'll give a customary little. Hi, I am 3FL. I am a gardening droid. I would love it if you called me Conifer, but you don't have to. Could you take me to see the root system?
They're like bombarded by these questions. And for a moment, one of them looks a little bit younger. They've got like these really quite a humanoid like oval face, but really long ears that kind of like flip out a little bit, but the cartilage is strong enough to keep them into like a point. And she looks like she's about to answer you when the other one puts her hand on her shoulder. Unfortunately, we can't show anyone the root system without direct authorization from the station managers. You could try and get that. It would not be the first time, particularly for, and he kind of looks at you and says, a gardening droid.
Could you take me to them?
No, we have to watch the tree.
Oh. How do I get up to the how do I get words just escaped my brain, Kristen Ammons. How do?
If that what happens is that Conifer frames the question perfectly, but their universal translators kind of like gibberish it a little bit. And the younger one says, "Oh, if you're important enough to get access to the root system, you'll be able to get to see them. We don't get to see them. We're just security."
You don't get to see the roots, or you don't get to see the
Oh,
authorization.
the station managers. I could go see the roots, I suppose. It's a lot of dirt.
That's wonderful. I'm glad they have dirt. How
Uh,
did you do this job?
oh, it's really easy. And as she starts to say it's really easy, he puts his hand on her shoulder, easing her again, and says, you could go and check with one of the station commanders. Arkash is on duty at the moment. You'd have to find his office. It's in the upper right chamber.
Upper
The
right
security
chamber.
office.
Okay. And how do I get up there?
He kind of points, and he points over to what's clearly a giant elevator chamber, and says, well, firstly, you would take the elevator upwards to the central plaza, and then you take one of the walkways across to the right bottom chamber, and then you take an elevator up through the chamber gap to the upper right chamber, and then ask somebody that is dressed like us, and they will tell you where the security office is.
Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you guys get to go take me to the roots when I get the authorization, because you've been very nice.
Well, if you get it in the next few days, the likelihood is that we will be stationed here.
Excellent. So Conifer will go ahead and head to the elevator that they were pointed to.
Sure. The bottom chambers each have 8 levels. The top chambers each have 5. It's not really super relevant. But on floor 3, the door opens, and a kind of mottled bluish skinned figure walks in. And the camera that has been following Conifer this whole time pans to watch Nyx walk in, but kind of fades a little bit back through time to an hour ago when Nyx was sitting in a relatively comfortable looking hotel room. It has, like most rooms that Nyx requires, a desk that has a very neatly organized set of various paraphernalia on it. It has a bed, and it has, in this case, the hotel room has like a projector that you've hooked one of your smart slabs up to, and you'll get in a video conference with one of the current tutors at the academy. They're asking you a very long-winded question to which you already know the answer, but you kind of feel that it's necessary for them to get through the question so that you don't diminish their role as the educator and your role as the alumni that they're asking for help. So you're tinkering on this rolled up now bit of very, at the moment, not pliable mesh. Can you describe Nyx to us in this work mode as she finds herself?
So Nyx, as she's listening, is doing that thing where she has her head tilted a little bit to indicate that she is paying attention. And after years of being with humanoid species, even though she has no visible ears, she's still tilted the side of her head up to show where an ear would be. But what is in its place is slightly softer, darker green mottled, almost like a gill texture, but not quite, a little bit like exposed muscle. And then the rest of her is that pale blue. And as she's working, um, she's setting little electrical nodes up against the mesh to see if she can change it to being flexible again, and nodding. One of her legs is jumping a little bit, just kind of not an entirely uncontrolled jump, but just like whenever you set your foot down and you have your knee bouncing. And she's wearing a very, very streamlined, very snug jumpsuit, and that jumpsuit gives away how absolutely rangy she is. She's tiny. She's a little bit bigger than Conifer, but not by much, and her joints stick out a little bit. She has that perennially underfed look. And every so often, she looks up at the screen, gives a very firm, square nod, even though maybe what she's nodding at isn't something that would require such a like emphatic expression of "I'm listening to you." But it's almost like it's on her programming. And in fact, if you did look at a clock, she does it approximately every 45 seconds before going back to her work.
The person on the other end, at the end of this extremely long question, it's largely them explaining a system that you already understand, and then asking a question at the end. It's like, so ultimately, how would you get across to the kids the need for like this particular type of conduction versus the traditional type of conduction?
Nyx looks down at one of her hands for a moment and then back up, and she says, well, I would take a small amount of the artificial flesh that you use for demonstrating safety issues, and I would hook it up to both impedance factors and see what happens. Let them see it. And then she looks back at her device and very carefully flicks the switch off because she's no longer paying attention to where her fingers are at.
Yeah. Before you, by device, do you mean you turned off the video call?
No,
Okay.
her.
I thought you just
what
ended the call, which would be very funny. The person's like, "Oh, of course, that makes so much sense. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate your time."
Yep. Was that your only question?
Well, yeah, but you can see how that was a big question. You got to make sure the kids learn the right things. And anyway, I have to get to class, but I really appreciated your time. And she like ends the call, and you're left looking at this electricity that you've tried to like mold the mesh with, and it's done nothing. This whole time you've been doing like a lot of different little experiments, and it's done nothing.
I think Nyx at first gets this. It's not quite a frown. Her face is fairly mobile, but she's got a bit of scar tissue on the one side of her jaw that holds that place just a little bit stiff. But then, out of nowhere, the slight frown, the furrowed brow, her eyes kind of like widen, and she says, "Well, you're a tricky little bastard. I wonder what Mom will think of you." And so she like takes a few notes on the smart slab that's not hooked up, and just hits send, and it's just literally like 3 lines to her mother of the latest thing that she has tried. There is no greeting, there's no message, there's no ending. It's just like, did this, this, and this, no effect.
It's also in response to like a 6-paragraph, like long, detailed message about like what's going on with the in the livosphere, and like how your dad is like really kind of lost at the moment, like doesn't know what to do, but it's because he like he doesn't want to push forward with a thing that he should, and you like this was a thing that was happening 2 years ago. But she's rehashing all of this stuff, trying to find like a way to get you to respond, and your response is this 3-line, very, very direct notes. She we like flash back a little bit to when she was writing that message in response to getting nothing from you for a little bit. And at the end of it, she's like, "And if you need my help with anything engineering wise, I guess, you can let me know." But as you're finishing up, already quite bad with time in the morning, you realize that it's edging towards your checkout time, and you haven't held this room for another day because you don't really know when ships are coming. You've been kind of hopping hotel to hotel.
Yeah, and Nyx is comfortable enough with like just packing up all of her few things and spending the day in the station, then going and finding a new room as soon as she knows that she's going to need it.
Yeah, you
So
played. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, so she's going to like, there's an alarm that goes off on her smart slab, and after she turns that first one off without thinking about it, a second alarm goes off, and this one she actually has to stop and perform a small problem before it like lets her turn it off, and that's what gets her actually moving and leaving for the day.
Yes, I'm familiar. You you pack up all your stuff. You played a fun game yesterday with somebody that you weren't really actually spending any time with, but you were both sitting in the central plaza looking out at ships, and you just happened to overhear him comment about like a engine propulsion system on one ship, and then on the next one you were like you commented on like the plasma thrusters on the ship being ones that you'd recently seen. And back and forth over a few hours, you kind of were both doing separate things. He was taking notes on something, and you were probably thinking about your mesh still. But you kind of back and forth pointed out these things, and it was like a fun game to be ship watching like that, and you don't really get that luxury very often. So you find your feet taking you to the elevator up to the central plaza. And we have this moment where, from now your perspective, the doors open, and inside we see Conifer, little straw hat with a satchel, a vine kind of on their hand. But this is also, you can tell you are an like applied engineering expert. You can tell that this is at very least an extremely advanced droid robot, but more likely based on the amount of like external stuff on the casing that they have, some kind of AI in a robot body.
Above board, how often does Nyx run into full AIs?
Full AIs in casings that are like out in the world. There might have been 1 or 2 that came through the academy your time. But there are only slightly less than 5,000 AIs ever. So you've met a couple. This casing's a little bit more advanced than either of them.
So yeah, in that case, as soon as the door opens and Nyx looks up from her smart slab, she stops, and then the door almost closes. She waits so long, but she scrambles in and sets herself up against the wall and is just kind of like watching Conifer. And given the amount of droids or AI that you just suggested, I'm sure that that is probably not unusual. But when Nyx is doing it, she's just kind of like muttering to herself and tapping a little bit idly at her slab.
I will say that most people cannot innately tell the difference between a robot and an AI. Most people would look at Conifer and assume they're a robot.
When Nyx like almost misses the elevator door closing, Conifer will do their best to like also like maybe like press a button to keep it open. And after like a few seconds, maybe noting sort of the awkward silence that elevators typically bring, will ask Nyx, what floor? What floor?
8.
Nyx has completely forgotten the floor that she needs in the surprise of this, and so she looks quickly at the panel to see what floor was already programmed in.
It was also 8.
Yeah, she will just automatically say 8, and she has completely forgotten that was where she was going anyway. 8, just like where you're going.
Oh, do you want to go see the root system also? Are you trying to get authorization to see the root system?
The root system, roots. She stops and she like stares for a long moment at the vine, and then she just stops talking because she's tempted to just lie and say yes, the root system. But also she's a very awkward liar, so she just sure. Hello?
Hello? Was that to me? It's okay if you don't want to see the root system.
Is and like you see her like slowly settle herself down because she's just like that's where you're going, the root system?
Well, I have to go talk to security so I can prove that I am important enough to go see the root system. But there's this giant tree in the middle of the base, and it's very beautiful.
That thing must be 1,000 feet tall.
Very easily. And maybe just as
I do want to interject here that I said feet, and we're going to use feet for a lot of stuff, but it's a metric world. Like,
Yeah, I
it's a
figured.
metric universe.
Heart's weird.
Yeah,
Metric
the
is
heart
better
is the
anyway.
last imperial place.
The viewers can use
Oh,
their
no.
the viewers
Can't
can use
say
their
that.
own universal translators to fix
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I think at this point, Nyx just like starts kind of like nodding. Conifer is overwhelming in personality, but also just overwhelming in like technology, and so she just starts talking on autopilot, and not really leaving space for Conifer to reply necessarily. It has to be very interesting the amount of localized gravitation that they must be using to make sure that that plant can grow properly, because back home that we would have never been able to have such a large fixture even if we had the space, and it shouldn't be alive, and it certainly shouldn't be so healthy.
Nyx's train of thought continues till the end of well, that's probably the end of it because it's quite a short elevator ride, 8 floors in the space elevator. The doors open to this beautiful space. It's almost the opposite of the hangar. The hangar was all about functionality to Conifer. This is a space that feels curated in a way that you are very comfortable with, like curated gardens, because you have done this job and you have made it look both natural and aesthetically pleasing. And you kind of, for a moment, I think to you, Conifer, Nyx's voice fades a little bit to the background as you see you would never have the luxury of seeing a tree this tall's canopy from this close in any other setting. It's only about maybe 80 feet up towards the ceiling from here, and you can kind of take in this expansive, huge, branched and leaf canopy. And as you kind of step out to just innately, you feel drawn closer to Nyx, you follow slightly behind. The elevator doors close, and they close slowly, but with that finality is that when they close, a smashing sound hits both of your ears as the station begins to rock back and forth. And from your vantage point on the ground, the camera kind of pans again, and we zoom upwards into the camera. A little two-tailed squirrel-like creature running through the canopy in reaction to the rocking of the space station. And we zoom out of the canopy up to the top of a hotel, where feeling rather than hearing anything is Kidren. Can you describe yourself as you recline, music blaring out all of the ensuing chaos that is about to be?
Kidren is just like on top of the very large hotel they're staying at, and Troy just like leaned back with their jacket off and kind of bundled to make like a halfway pillow behind their head, where they have their visor activated. These little implants around their eyes, as like their kind of blonde hair is brushed aside, and as the music is kind of just blaring, their vision isn't focused on looking up, as they have a little kind of older model drone kind of just like buzzing around near the bottom of the tower and just looks to just be just looking at things. People, any like if there's any type of performances that don't require sound to be heard, it probably stops and stares at that for a while. While otherwise they are just kind of reclined, the black kind of combat vest and jeans of appearance, hands back, but does register the ground shaking enough to like take off the visor for a second.
And I think you had been watching your drone watch what it has like a very complicated code. It's a robot, but it's like you had set it to like look for interesting things that don't require auditory input, and it had been like, all right, well, what is that? And it thought it had found a living statue. But you had come to realize that its programming had seen that and assumed that was a living statue when it was in reality just a statue. So you'd probably at the back of your brain been thinking like, how do I input this command in a way that makes this not happen in the future as you're listening to your music? And but as the rocking starts, you kind of bring your attention back to the world around you, and you see out of this huge the central plaza has an all glass wall, basically, a transparent, very thick kind of titanium fused glass, and you see it's the middle of the day, so there's the middle of the afternoon, ships coming in, because they normally will arrive first thing or last thing, or leave first thing or leave last thing. But there's a few coming in. You see a sleek silver-lined ship kind of fading away into the distance. But you do see points of laser light coming from various weapons on 2 or 3 ships from where you are. And as you look out across the plaza, you start to see, and we get this as all visual as like a kind of rockish soundtrack is playing through kids' headphones. You see people start to point at the window, and then you start to see debris from the upper chamber that has just been ripped apart by this fire. People start to panic. There's a lot of people running around. What is kids' immediate reaction to seeing this panic ensue?
You said there's debris falling from like
Well, it's
the
floating out into space.
Okay.
It is. because of space, it doesn't fall.
Hopefully no like security anything happens to just be looking in this direction, but Kid now kind of standing and probably having walked to the edge of the building to like get a better view of what's happening. Looking down and seeing everyone kind of scramble around, puts in a quick input in their slab to recall Dart as he finishes staring at a statue and begins to fly back.
He just like slots into a hole in your armor and like folds down to be like a little compact rectangle, basically.
And they just sling a rifle off their back and keeping it like finger off the trigger, but just holding it up as to use the scope, is just trying to kind of follow around, and is mainly seen as, after seeing the ship fire, do people seem to be scrambling in a specific direction, or is it just complete anarchy?
People are scrambling largely towards the elevator that Conifer and Nyx came out. There is like stairs in here, but they're like old and disused. And people that are, because this is kind of a residential area, people that are more familiar are like booking it for those stairs. You probably, in your general wanting to know where things are, you probably realize these stairs were here as well. But make me an understanding roll with charisma, because it's about what people are doing. Kind of think they're probably going for the hangar. Like, there are escape pods on this this station. There are none here. They're only in the upper chambers because they're for the affluent people. There's not enough to evacuate everybody, but it seems likely that people are making for the hangars because that's where you're able to get out.
Question about applications on the smart slab real quick. So on the model that we chose, do all of the ones that are listed are what's available immediately?
Yeah, there's other like general application that you might use a current day smartphone for, like notes. There are things within those apps that do that kind of thing. So if it's a very basic a basic thing that you would do with a smartphone, you can generally find a way to do it. What were you looking at trying to do with your smart slab?
Well, since Kidren had tried to find probably the highest up point where they weren't immediately smashed against the roof of this chamber.
Yep.
Yeah, and now that the roof of this chamber seemingly is taking fire from other ships, Conifer is not exactly the most jazzed about being up here anymore. So running back to where the jacket had just been left on the ground, they pick it up like in a hurry and tie it around their waist, not even bothering to sling it on or anything. And kind of like taking a breath, begins to run towards the edge of the building, and as they're doing so, pulls out their smart slab and activates the self featherfall while the rock music is just blaring in their ears, and jumps off the building.
Sure. The way that the smart lab apps work, particularly for you because you have a cybernetic implant that is sensory, you don't have to take your smart slab out. If your smart slab registers that you're falling, you get a ping to your like visor that's like, do you want to activate featherfall? Blink once for yes.
Okay, yeah.
And then it charges you some money off your credits.
Yeah. So Kidren just begins to kind of like Mary Poppins float, hop, skip off balconies on their way down.
So we get like a you just kind of like a jumping down. That you basically, that app gives you featherfall whenever you want it, as long as you're willing to pay. I think it's 25 credits per use. But for the duration of your hopping down, you just make it easily. But the audience has still seen only visually, a silhouetted kid whip out a sniper scope and start like looking around from the run back, get a jacket, and then just start jumping down. I think as you land quite close to some people that are maybe making their way a little bit slower, but the camera also pans from you, and maybe 40 feet off in the middle of the plaza, we see a plainclothes security officer, not because they're normally plainclothes, but because they're not working right now. Valis, can you describe yourself as you stand in the middle of a plaza on a station you are about to leave as it's taking fire, a station that should not ever be attacked?
So you said I'm still in the plaza.
Yeah, you're in the center of the plaza, kind of looking out the window. You're seeing exactly the same as.
Okay. So he's just seen this. He's going to quickly look down at the double espresso in his hand, gun it, and break out into a sprint. Already heading for the impound lot where he knows his getaway is, or is hoping his getaway is still.
So what does Valis look like?
Valis is dressed very similarly to all these out of place station security. In fact, he is dressed the same in the same outdated clothes. So, like very heavy kind of trench coat that he's got.
You're a few hours before your shift. You're already dressed for work?
Yeah, I think he didn't bring.
This is
very
why
many
Valis
other
has no
clothes.
friends.
Yeah,
Like this kind of commitment to a cover,
and other reasons.
Yeah, other reasons too. But yeah. So we see a man that is dressed as a security officer at this point.
He doesn't have like his badge and stuff, but he's got his gun holstered. But yeah, he's wearing like a fairly heavy trench coat, and like full suit underneath as is standard. Tie and everything. It's kind of it's clear that he's off duty because right now it's like down and like a little bit sloppy, whereas normally, at least for Valis, everything's very neat. Most of the station security is like that. Otherwise, Arkash throws a fit, even though it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, the only thing that you're allowed to do to change your uniform is change the color of your tie, and the options are red, a deeper but identical color of red, and a lighter version of red that's the same color. But they all are different. You have to make different requisition orders for them.
Valis is wearing a green tie and has convinced Arkash that it is a red tie, actually.
I want you to make a retroactive
Okay.
deception check. Because I think that's extremely funny. Okay.
Well,
this is
25. That's a crit.
He rolled a 2. So we have this. We kind of flash back to Valis' green tie in Arkchan's office, and Arkchan's like, "In my day, it used to be red was red was red, and now red. All right, whatever." He like dismisses you with a wave, and then kind of turns away to look out a window as if stoically staring for the past that he has forgotten. Arkchan's not that old. Arkash is not that old. Like, he's maybe in his mid-40s.
Yeah, but he's
He's an old soul, which is to say,
captain of security,
a real-world boomer.
and an asshole, as at least Valis clearly knows.
I think we're saying the same thing, but so you break out into a sprint in the Central Plaza.
Like there's a sudden ship battle going on overhead. It's starting to like crash down into the thing. He sent the message over to Alejandri, letting him know like, hey, like we need to go now. And he'd already sent off the dirt that he had gathered on Arkash. So he's just like, a Tom Cruise sprinting Baleth is kind of I described him as being like Charlie had a good phrase in the chat that I'm trying to remember. Schrodinger's attractive person.
Yeah.
So he's got like a little bit big ears, like a little bit too big a nose for his face. But people are split on whether or not he's like really handsome or kind of goofy looking, because of those things. He's got like a mop of black hair right now, which is kind of trailing behind him as he's running. Kind of tan skin and very light brown eyes. Almost have a slight piercing quality to them.
You start sprinting. You've sent that message off to Alejandro. You get a space emote that, as you like look down at your phone, it like holographs off your phone, and it's just like a big thumbs up. But it's clearly his hand, so like he's had it, like he's custom made one that's his own hand.
His third hand.
Yeah, you can tell it's his hand because it is his third hand, and his third hand is like slightly weird looking because it's like not a fully formed hand. I mean, it is, but like it's got an alien quality to it because he's an alien that has 3 arms. He gives you a thumbs up, and the camera like pans away from that thumbs up to the railing, looking out at the window where we see the final party member staring out. Could you describe Lucira to us, please?
Yeah. Lucira is a somewhat tall human woman, jet black hair, kind of deeper blue eyes, pale skin. She's wearing kind of just this black with some blue accented. I wouldn't call it armor, but it definitely looks like there's some pieces that could be uh dual naturing as armor. Um, has a little taser on one hip because she ain't gonna mess around if she has to. But um, uh, yeah, that's Lucira.
So you have the closest view of this, and you can see that there are actually 4 ships outside that seem to be firing. You've been on quite a lot of ships. You don't have a lot of expertise in like types of ships, but they all seem drastically different in make and like design. It's not a fleet of 4 identical ships has shown up. It's 4 distinct, disparate ships are here launching this attack on the heart. And as the lasers kind of rake downwards across the upper chamber, essentially blasting the front of it to pieces, one of those stray laser bullets aims right for the window that you're standing in front of, and I need you to make me an escape skill save.
Okay.
Rolls a 1, immediately rerolls character.
Why can't I not find? Like, where'd the dice rolls channel go?
Yeah, that's the kind of GM I am. If you fail this, you die.
Oh,
Everything
good.
is
It's a
save or
1.
die.
It's for my modifier. 14. It's okay. It's okay.
I mean, look,
Okay.
I gave it a save that was near that. So as you see this laser, you're kind of starting to move back already, but you don't move quickly enough. And it clashes into the window, and it like just shatters a hole through. By the time the laser hits it, it's like a pin going through this hole, and the decompression and vacuum from space opening up into this starts to like pull you towards it, and you feel yourself float off the ground for a moment and slam into the glass. But before you've hit the glass, the shield that protects this entire station from these kind of ambient destructions has come back in, and the pressurization has stopped. You're going to take 2 points of damage as you kind of fall roughly 10 feet down to the ground. And everybody kind of feels that moment of decompression. Nobody else is close enough to get like sucked through or sucked towards it. But you're like picking yourself up. You turn around and see everybody begin to scramble. You kind of see it off in your the distance. Someone jumping down an entire hotel. You're trying to work out if
It's like-
that's being dazed or that's real. They land, and then you kind of pet across, and the security guard's just full Tom Cruise sprinting, but not towards the hangar where everybody else is going. You kind of take a moment to take this all in, as that laser was not meant for this space. It like was an accidental one, but you do kind of notice that they're turning their attention elsewhere on the station. What's your first instinct to do?
My first instinct would be to assess, okay, where's the crowd going? I don't want to go there. I will only get crushed or likely get killed from the chaos that ensues when there's a big crowd heading somewhere in a panic. So I will do that, assess that first, see where they're going, say, not go in that direction. Whereas a different path I can take that maybe goes eventually over there, but is the roundabout way to avoid this crush of people.
Well, you see the security guard sprinting towards one of the walkways that's up here, which is going the opposite direction to everybody else. And while you don't know an enormous amount about this station, you do know from your rally the previous week that the corporate ventricle, as it was, which is the lower right one, starts with corporation stuff and then goes all the way down to like security areas and then maintenance. But you do remember that people were telling you about the fact that like there were a lot of impounded ships here, and it you can maybe piece together with that information where that security guard is running.
Yeah, that's gonna ping a little thing in my brain, and that makes me wonder if this security guard helped. It makes me distrustful of the security guard, which means I'm following the security guard.
The so we see Valis sprint off in a direction. Lucira kind of a little bit unsure about like where to go, but with no other real idea, goes in that same direction as well. Kid, where are you headed?
I was gonna ask, do I remember details of where Abrams dropped off the ship that we brought here?
Yeah, you would have known that it was being impounded. It's a natural thing for criminal ships to get impounded. So
Being that is,
certainly
yeah, that
that would be yeah, you would know where that is. So.
Yeah. No, you're good. Seeing as that is the only ship Kidren is fully aware of the location of on this station, and would Kid know where exactly that is? I guess since their time here.
Yeah, probably because you would have before leaving the ship, because you had that moment where Abrams came back to the ship. There would have been a quick debrief with all of you there, except for Linux, who's already been dropped off. And you would have like Abrams's debriefs are very long, and you don't pay a lot of attention. But he did explain that like he had to come all the way from one. Basically, you have to go all the way from the bottom of the chamber up and then down to the hangar where you were being dropped off and they were being picked up. And this is a long trip. They could have just made a walkway across from these two. But in his voice.
Yeah, so Kidren would begin to immediately head in that direction, as the idea of going to a hangar and not necessarily giving a guarantee that they're going to be able to get off the station is no bueno.
Yeah. Back to our pair at the elevator. The elevator has opened behind you and people have poured into it as you're kind of reacting to everything. The elevator has gone down some distance, you assume, to the bottom. And it's come back up, and by the time you can react, that door is pinging open. And a man runs out in a brown trench coat, black dreadlocks, carrying an enormous duffel bag. And he kind of bumps both of you as he's trying to move past and goes, "Oh, I'm really sorry. not intentional. Don't go that way. A lot of people that way. If you've ever seen like wine being made where they squish things together, looks like that. Don't go that way.
Should we go your way?
He thinks about a kindness that a man did to him the previous day, and he says, "Yeah, you come my way."
Conifer has now attached themselves to this person.
Great. Yeah, I know a way out. It's fine. You can pay me back later. Not a problem. Jorgen, by the way.
I am 3FL. This is my new friend. Thank you for your advice. You can call me Conifer if you'd like.
All right, Conifer, friend. We did it. Let's go. He's like running. He's like, he was sprinting on the spot, waiting for you to like be on the ball to move. Like, we gotta go. Like, this is not a drill. And he begins.
No, this is friend making time.
Yeah, he begins sprinting. Kind of brings you a little bit under the canopy, and there's a moment where everything kind of slows down a little bit, and the tree. We have like this moment of like just watching that squirrel that was on the tree run off a branch, and it's like got the little flying fur bit so that it can kind of glide, and it jumps off and it just starts gliding somewhere else to see if it can find a way to go. And as it jumps, the tree dislodges a little seed, and the seed is canoe shaped, and it's huge. It's like a plantain sized canoe shaped thing, but it's spiky on the outside and it's got a soft outer top. And as it falls almost perfectly into the path of Conifer as you're if you'd like to pick it up.
This might stop Conifer in their tracks very momentarily. They will scoop that up. And if they're able to do like multi-processing things while they're moving, will like, does this match any of the seeds that I have collected in my time?
No, this is a different thing.
Okay.
But you feel a kinship in that this tree, like, if you believed in things the way that Ichthir Brune believed in things, this is not a chance. This is like fate, as she has described it to you.
Okay. Yeah. Conifer picks up the large seed and will like not quite like blow a kiss to the tree, but like it's very much this energy of I don't think either of us know why we're here. We're gonna figure it out together.
Sure. As you're sprinting, so you're all taking this manual little pathway. I say little, it's an enormous like cylinder with a very nice walkway that could fit like 5,000 people in this area on its own. Like, it's not a small area, but it's devoid of everyone else. There are lower level ones that people are using to get across, particularly those that have like residential access. People are going up instead of going down from other places. But we see first Valis, and then Lucira, and then Kid, and then the trio of Jorgen. Jorgen, Nyx, and Conifer sprinting down this pathway. And the camera pans away for our protagonists for a moment, out to the external side of the ship, as these four hostile to the heart ships. One of them swings low into a trajectory and strafes across the front of the hangar, blowing out the entirety of the shield at the front for a moment, with enough penetration for its lasers to start raking across the ships. And that depressurization lasts for a little bit longer, as the ships inside all begin to like be pulled towards the depressurization and out a little bit into space as debris begins to form. And then the alarms start to go off in the ship, and because we're doing a slightly shorter session, we're going to take our break at about this point.
Wait. What do the alarms sound like? Are these Star Wars klaxons? Star Trek klaxons?
No, they're very...
klaxons?
No, they're very, very they're just like a blaring, like one note over, like if someone was hitting their car horn consistently for about a minute.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good.
I was
And
really hoping it would.
the lights are red.
I was really hoping it's going to be like the Japanese like hurricane alarm. Blant, 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 blant.
I don't think
All
I've
right,
heard that before.
We're gonna be
It's
back on the
horrifying.
half hour. And we will see what happens to our intrepid space heroes.
Right.
Well, some of you. Welcome back to the second half of episode 1 of The Infinite. The camera pans back away from the destruction of the hangar up to Valis hammering at a door that is normally accessible with your pass, but because of the lockdown protocols, your pass probably was never given clearance for this lockdown thing. You're like trying to get the door to work, and eventually it just registers your pass. One of the many small laser bursts has interrupted this. But as you're standing there pressing your pass over and over again, you like press your pass, it doesn't work, you hit the you press your pass again. Lucira arrives behind you, followed very, very soon after by and you're just watching the security guard try and open a door with his pass over and over again.
What are you doing? You.
At what point does it open? Is it opening as they're saying this, or?
Yeah, I think as you say, "What are you doing?" you press the pass, and it's like, and the door just gets in front of you.
I look back quickly at the two people who of the crowd that we just saw had followed me for some reason, and I say, I pause for a second. I like open my mouth and pause. Say, oh well, I work here. What are you doing?
Bless you. Trying to get away from the crowd. I'm not about to get crushed.
Heading for the impound specifically for me.
I look at the two of them, and maybe as the station gets rocked slightly.
Make a either perception or understanding roll. Perception's wisdom, understanding's charisma.
Okay.
I don't have your sheets open, so I don't know which one's better. I would have just said which was better.
Well, I'll do for perception. It's +5.
If I give you an option like that, it generally means I just mean whichever's better in a character sheet open. But sometimes I'll tell you that you get different. The die dances and pirouettes across the table's ancient craft.
The duality of man. I see nothing.
Yeah, you kind of look at these two and they're just people. And as you're kind of like coming to terms with someone saying they're going to the impound lot, you hear from behind them a voice go, Valis, I've got 2 more people.
I crane my head over at Alejandro, who has just walked in carrying. So now I've got.
He's still sprinting because it's down like a long corridor towards you.
There's 6 people here. Okay. Stay under my breath.
Is Valis like standing inside the door still?
It's a big door. Like
yeah, I'm just like standing right there. I say, "Look it. Come on, let's go." And he moves in and is heading for a ship in particular.
Yeah, so
to all of your eyes.
So you step to the side and you open a security elevator that will take you straight down to the impound. Nobody else would have access to this. Your pass works immediately, leading you to believe that the previous pass issue was a problem. Alejandro, who still goes by Jorgen to Nixon, Conifer, shepherds them both in, and then as he steps in, you see from underneath his trench coat a third arm that's sitting on the hill. And he kind of looks at Valis and says, "You never know. Someone might come." And he pulls out the sword and just brandishes it towards the door.
I'll nod at him and pull out my jet black to probably Kid, I think in particular, would pick up this kind of like very fancy, strangish looking jet black pistol that is not standard issue, not the standard issue sidearm for the hard security.
Yeah, to Kid, you're like, well, that's a weird gun. It's got Venta Black on. Lucira, you're also like, that's not standard issue anyway. The other two know nothing about anything to do with this.
I'm gonna look at this assembled crew and he has another thought, and he says, in a very different voice than what Lucira and Kid heard just moments earlier. Listen, I have a ship already that I'm going to. If you guys want to come with, you're welcome. Otherwise, find your own shit and get out your own way. You can take whatever you want. I really don't care.
Nyx's eyes are very wide, bright orange, standing out. She looks at Conifer, to Jorgen, and then the two people who are now like brandishing weapons, which is not something she's generally used to or comfortable with. And her last encounter with weapons was terrifying. And she, engineer, not a pilot, so best off with you, and I can pull my own weight. And like she grabs Conifer's like the flannel and says, this one's useful too. Has no idea if he's useful at all. They're useful at all, but
Kid is going to kind of reach, seeing that now weapons are at least being like held. There's like a small kind of rectangle at the back of their vest, which along the back of the vest, forgot to previously describe it, is this kind of like folded out, spread out like wing like pattern that looks like it's been spray painted on the vest, but the wings themselves are actually made up of like asteroids that are like interconnected with just like purplish space. But the rectangle, whenever they kind of put their hand on it, folds out a small kind of like handhold, and they just kind of take it off and hold it out to their side, and it looks like it can be flipped open in some way. But looking at Valis, which you're still wearing like the security everything, right?
Yeah, like I said, it's still like a little bit sloppy, but he is still outfitted like station security. He wears the suit better than most of the station security does.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that is true. It's standardized sizing, and Valis is roughly the standard size compared to a lot of people.
Yeah.
They have a one size fits all mentality, which is that as the elevator's going down, this one's much slower because it's going through like security protocols on each floor. You feel more intense rocking of this elevator, but as it hits, go ahead.
Dallas, as we're just like waiting for the slow elevator, knowing exactly how long it takes, quickly pulls out the bagel he didn't get to finish. He had shoved in a pocket, and with the practiced mentality of somebody who has had to eat very quickly before, scarfs it down.
Lucira has a hand on a little snap close pouch on her left hip, and is just kind of like, doesn't have like a hand up, but like has her hand kind of positioned like this down by her hip, ready to go, hold on, like, and is in like a ready to stop motion, and then just kind of drops that positioning and looks a little dumbfounded at this man who changed his voice and is now eating a bagel.
Which doesn't say, in the silence of just the bagel eating sounds of the elevator, Kidren just to themselves kind of like, so just a few seconds pass before. I mean, it's against Imperial law to deny a citizen in distress emergency transport anyway, so we were going to get to go along with you, whether you wanted to or not. But okay.
Conifer, I think, noting that there has been enough time for this to happen, is going to go, what's going on? Does anybody know?
I think Alejandri pops up from behind, well, in front of you now, but yeah. shit has got real. That's what we call it in my line of work. And we gotta get out of here.
That means a lot of different things could be happening. Okay.
I'll have to
I-
concur with my third-armed gentleman.
I think if any of us knew what was happening, that would be dangerous to the rest of us. So if anyone knows what's happening, he like brandishes the sword in a way that is both comical and extremely practical. You should tell us now.
I think while they're all talking, Nyx is trying to dash off a message to Chips. And in her panic and her usual laconic manner, she just writes, "See if you can get the salvage contract on the heart." That's all she sends.
Oh.
Okay, this is very, very important. As you try and send that, you've noticed that the general network that you have been logged into on the heart doesn't work, but you can see that there are other networks, including the security network, that does. I need you to make me a computers check to piggyback onto one of those networks and send the message out.
While it's happening. By the way, I'm fine if anybody wants to make an understanding check on Valis at this point. That's totally
Can
cool.
I? Please?
Yeah.
That's like, can
I am
Please don't
absolutely
get me
fine.
wrong.
I'm fine with people making rolls against other characters in general, unless it's PvP stuff, in which case we'd need to talk beforehand. Yeah, you hook into the security system network, and it like auto encrypts your email to somebody else.
Nah, it's 10.
I'll see if Christopher rolls better. Or I narrate.
I'm gonna say
nope.
No.
I'm gonna say that Valis's general like unsettlingness requires like at least a 50.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Fair.
Like
That's totally fair.
Kidren's just too focused on the bagel.
19.
Yeah.
Conifer, Conifer, a lot of your understanding of people is based on like trying to learn the connections between plants and people. You didn't see the first bit where he was speaking with a different voice, really. You like kind of came in at the very end of that, and that's not that unusual to you anyway. But you definitely see about this person, it's an air of competence that is kind of, it's juxtaposed against the image that he's portraying. He's more competent than he's portraying himself to be. But you don't really understand the why, and there's so much other stuff going on that you can't consider it. Like as you're starting to think about it deeper, the ship rounds yet again. You're at the 7th floor going down. Finally, you hit the 2nd floor because it numerically goes down. You hit 1st floor, which is the impound lot. There is a security office down here as well, and then underneath this, you can get stair areas.
Right. I start going. I know the direction I want to go already.
Yeah, so you know that these elevator doors will open. There'll be a huge space that's about as big as the impact. Oh no, it's basically because you've seen the lower level impound lot. It's the part of the upper level one that is. So it's a little bit smaller than that, but it's a huge big space. And as the elevator doors open, you see a space.
No. Back.
Okay.
That
This-
has been put. Hello.
Okay. Space that has been put.
We got
You're
you.
back.
We got your back.
Excellent. So you see a steel-coated room that has been shattered apart by laser fire. The shield around the station has solidified, kind of stopping the outside atmosphere, just pulling everything into space or taking away all the oxygen and things like that. And as you kind of step out, I put you in Alejandro and Valis first, and then everybody kind of trailing behind. As you step out, you kind of move a little bit forward, taking in the destruction of this room before anything else. Valis, you know that to the right is where you need to go. But you do see two trench-coated individuals in trench coats extremely similar to Jorgen / Alejandro, Henry, kind of securing these big metal plates to the floor so that they can get across a gap. And as you take all of this in, from behind them, you hear a voice that to only Valis is familiar. As it says, all right, maggots, we got to get across to the impound lot, get to the ship. And two people walk out of the door. One of them is Arkash, and the other is a pink woman with jet black hair, holding a shotgun. And I need everyone to roll me quickness, which is to say initiative. Probably I shouldn't write the initiative order on the back of the stats for the people that are in the fight.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right.
Oh.
There.
Okay, Maddie.
Oh wait, I rolled that wrong. It should be a 3, not a 5, so it's worse.
Hilarious.
That's great. I still.
Oh, wait. Oh no, just kidding. It's fine. It is a 4. JK, we're good. It is still a 5.
We did not roll very well. That's a
None of you have any
Oh.
quickness.
Huh.
You made a remarkable choice to be terrible at initiative in a system that lets you like an. All right. Anybody over? I'm not looking.
Anybody over what?
I did.
20.
No.
Nope.
Okay, this system has a top end of plus 15 naturally to skills. All right. Anyone between 20 and 15?
15.
Okay. Great. Sorry. Between 10 and 15. 10 and 14.
14.
14? You did beat some people. All right. Who's highest out of the two that are left?
I
got
got
3
2.
left.
There's
3
3
left.
Oh,
And it's
Valis,
me. I have an 8.
Okay.
I rolled
you have an 8.
very low.
Valis.
I rolled a natural
Valis,
1 for a 5.
and then Conifer.
I rolled a 2 for a 2.
All right. Unfortunately, a natural 1. I'm still going to put.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
it really doesn't matter at this point. But
Valis thought he ate that bagel fast.
yeah, Valis is like a lot of
eating
stuff
the
just
bagels.
happened.
I've got cream cheese on my hand now.
Just not
You
expecting
see,
all these other security guards to be down here when they're not supposed to be.
well, only one of them is the security guard, and he was probably about to be arrested. All right. Everything starts to kind of move, and Arkash sees Valis, and pulls out a knife. And when I say knife, I mean a crocodile knife. It's like most of a short sword, but it's a knife. Pulls out a knife. He says, you bandits! He shakes his head, still irritated by the fact that they chose to call him bandit. You bandits! You better stop them! And he takes off and starts running out into the void of space. And as he jumps, a film that Nyx is familiar to Nyx begins to encapsulate him as he has a spacesuit, and he jumps container here. And he was just sprinting. Next up, Kid. You just see 4 people you don't really know and a guy booking it across space.
Okay. Do they look hostile? Like to us?
He just shouted at 2 bandits, although you do know that bandits. Oh no, you've also seen this pink-skinned lady, because that is the
okay.
bandit captain. So yeah, they look hostile to you.
Yeah, Kid, full on, like, mouth open, was already halfway through saying, like, about to raise a hand and say, Imperial Law 228. Shit. And it's like,
Imperial law, this is a gunfight, son.
well, excuse me, I thought they were security officers, but that's fine.
Mm.
And
Alkash is
just
dressed in a security outfit.
and just to reiterate, a pink lady does not have dual shotguns, correct?
One shotgun that she is
One
carrying.
shotgun. Immediately less
Okay.
of a threat. Immediately less of a threat to Kid.
You got to
50%
think about
of
the
a
fact
threat.
that I switched a character away from dual shotgun. Scary to change with.
Kid is going to kind of like step away from the group a bit because being clustered up isn't exactly comfortable. It's the thing I don't really think we talked about. I'm assuming movement speed is the same as
Yeah,
it usually is.
everyone has 30, unless you have chosen to racially have more.
Okay, so yeah, Kid just kind of like scoots off towards the back, but very quickly reholsters the kind of weird rectangle thing back onto their back and slings off their rifle. And it's just going to, as they're already pulling the trigger, it's going to be getting into like a single knee, like crouch. As
Who are
the
you
small,
aiming at?
I'm gonna go ahead and aim at the pink lady because I recognize them immediately. The small drone dart comes off their shoulder and becomes a small mount that hovers in the air for the rifle.
That's cool. All right. Yeah, roll
Cool
a
kid
range
shit.
skill check, please.
Yep. Oof, only a 14.
14 misses. It you aim towards her and she's wearing some kind of armor. But as you kind of notice, it looks like it's a largely decorative armor, as like a flare of shield comes up and like blocks the shot away. And she kind of looks at you and she shakes her head and says, "Well, it is in your best interest to just let us go. We're just trying to get to a ship. We're not really trying to do anything. These two needed to fix this so that they could get past." And she like starts running, and you see maybe only Nyx notice that she jumps, and she jumps a long distance, but some people can just jump a long distance. But as she jumps, Nyx, you see like this trail of blood, like the footprints from when she stopped. Blood has spattered there, and kind of flecking through space. These little her blood as she jumps at inhuman onto this container, and she also has a spacesuit.
It might be an error on my part, but is that voice familiar to Nyx?
Yeah, it's the captain that you spoke to.
Okay, because I know that she never saw her, but Nyx hears that voice and like goes really straight, like all 5'3" of her, and she, despite herself, goes, "You!"
There is for those of you that are not Kid and thusly need non things to shoot, you can kind of see as you're looking around, the rest of you taking in the look for. Nyx, there's a turret system that you just piggybacked into the security network. You could probably work out a way to activate that. There's a door in the back that looks like where they are heading. That was also kind of where this point. There's a couple of crates in front of you. One of them that's further away seems to be some kind of special crate. You don't know what's in it. But also, Conifer, you feel the vine around your hand. It's been there for a while now, and it's starting to feel a little bit like tapping your energy more than you'd like. But it kind of looks like it's looking for something the way that it controlled the plant on that planet. But it doesn't have to be a plant. It draws power from anything. And also, this is, I think you were on the ship long enough that segment of that vine, it's not like the full vine that's like in your pack somewhere. Thing. But Nyx is up.
So these visible crates are actual like cover. The ones.
Yes.
Okay. So I think after shouting "you" in horror, Nyx's first move is to scramble past the others and into this little zone. And she's like panting and like her back is up against the crate as she looks around the room. And she like looks at her side where she has this fairly massive compared to her, but still just a wrench, just a simple wrench. And she looks back down at her smart slab and she starts figuring through the network. She also, when she was glancing around, she saw the turret system. She's also glancing around for things like fire suppression systems and things with like any sort of descending hoses or crane materials that she could use. Just what's in this room on the ceiling.
Do you want to look through the computer systems that you're on? Or
Yeah, sure.
okay, I need you to make a computers check with int, because it would make no sense for it to be dex.
That's fair.
You'd think I'd have the dice roll channel open for this.
Yeah. 24. 14 plus 10.
You don't necessarily see fire suppression, because if you did, it would. However, you do see that because this is an adjacent hangar, it looks like it was like a separate hangar space. The shield that currently protects everything from the outer atmosphere, you can maneuver that with the with your computer's check to kind of bisect the room to essentially cut off a third of it somewhere.
Excellent. She's going to call out to Valis. Where's your ship?
It's below, right? Like we have to go to the same area that they're heading. This yellow area, I assume, on the map, or the marked door.
Yeah. So the marked door on the map is where you're heading. Which ship are you going towards?
I want to go for the
one in
ship.
the lower hangar.
Yeah, with the computer named Teresa.
Yeah. So you need to go through that door and then down an elevator.
Okay. And I'm presuming that they're heading for the. I don't remember if that ship had a name.
Oh, the Red Line. All of their stuff is called
yeah, the Red Riders. No, the Red Riders brought it in. Too many names with red. The Red Line.
I only picked one of these names, and they already exist.
I didn't know. Yeah.
So you can surmise that they are probably going
the Red Line pirates fought the Red Riders. Got it.
All right. So I know that they're all trying to get there, and we've got to get to that marked door. That's where Valis pointed. Then.
Yeah, I'm gonna say over that way and down.
All right. So Nyx, and you said so. A third of the room I can cut off, and maybe like with just like a single horizontal line. Can you see that ruler that I'm projecting?
No.
I can't.
Okay. So is it possible to put that shielding up between the bandits?
There's a draw tool.
Yeah, you can just draw it, and we'll undo it if that's not where you want to put it.
Is that a possibility there?
Yep.
Okay. And so like, must the lines be like horizontal? Or does the shield basically work on horizontal lines?
It's got a thing on the ceiling that's basically like directing it straight down horizontally, and they're connected on the same axis. Can you make me an understanding check with wisdom as you go to put that in?
Yeah. I can roll you a flat d20 for sure.
Not that hard. Yeah. So you can just put that shield down there.
Yeah. So Nyx calls out, "Sorry about this," and immediately throws the shield up, blocking them off from the escape.
As you throw it up, the shield. Well, you made sure that the shield protected you from atmosphere. As they go to respond, like asking you what, and you just see them start to float, and then their skin starts to crystallize. As they both explode into blooms of, they both bleed different colors than red, but they both immediately die.
It's it misses, like, it's probably visible to maybe Valis closest. Nyx had said sorry about that glibly, but as soon as it happens, she is turned away and she's looking at the ceiling and breathing really strained. Okay, the Morus. Let's keep running.
Conifer, you also see that because your understanding and perception are both high enough that you definitely moment that Nyx has. They would go, but they are both literal mist. Da, da, da.
This is
Anyway, next up is Valis.
Right. Seeing that these two bandits have been thoroughly taken care of, and not wanting to go that way anyways, Valis is going to. Are we doing diagonal in normal 5e, or are we doing like a 5-10-5?
No, normal. Normal 5e. I can't be bothered dealing with that. Ignore that giant bandit that just appeared.
Massive bandit.
No.
Is this thing a bit of cover?
It's a larger crate that has a particularly strange emblem on it.
I don't like that. I am actually going to bonus action, using a point of my using a martial point. Trying to correct the term.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to dash because that is my one of them, anyways. I'm using internal strength ability.
Mm-hmm.
So you see Valis just break out once more into the sprint, like moving across this thing and somehow still having time to take a bunch of shots. Does the shotgun lady or Arkash seem less armored to my eyes? I know I kind of understand Arkash's armor pretty well, I think.
Yeah, his armor's equivalent to yours.
Okay.
She appears to be less armored.
Okay.
From what you can see. You also know that shooting out of atmosphere into space is difficult. So you'll have disadvantage shooting at them, as they would have disadvantage shooting at you.
Can I try to... I don't know if this will have an appreciable effect. Is there anything on this crate that I can shoot that they're standing on?
It's an enormous container, like a shipping container.
And shooting it.
So there's nothing that...
force.
Yeah, it wouldn't do anything because you don't have a shoot. So.
Okay, I'm just going to take a shot at the pirate captain.
Sure. It's bandit captain.
Excuse me.
Literally annoys everybody in the world that they call...
What was it? 2d20 d1? Is that what it was for this?
Yes.
Let's see. I think I'm doing this right.
It's D height H1 because this will mean you'll have advantage.
Correct. So, sorry, I rolled that wrong. It will be 9 plus 8, which is 17.
Yeah, that hits. Roll some damage.
Oh, actually, you said this is a condition 1, right? So does that mean it's a +1?
Yeah, it's got a +1 to it.
So that's actually an 18. I have to remember my bonus.
Still hits.
Does that apply to damage?
Yes, for weapons.
Okay. Do I add my dex as well?
Yep.
Okay. Damn +5 coming at you. Not great. So.
She it hits her, and you see the film of her shields that she has takes like a big chunk and takes some time to but it did not get through her shields.
Okay. I'm gonna to the others over my shoulder, you know, as I'm firing. Get to the door. I'll try to draw fire.
Next up is Conifer. As you hear
Could we-
Valis say that.
Okay, so I think the first thing that Conifer is going to do is they're going to dodge up to where Nyx is. Give them sort of like a brief tug on their sleeve, the same way that Nyx had done to their flannel earlier. And then I think that was like 15 movement that I just did about. And what is the deal with this spooky crate?
You can make an Imperial law check with intelligence, but one of the other ones if you prefer. Intelligence gets you the most pertinent information.
Yeah, I think that gives me.
And as Conifer pulls on Nyx's sleeve, Nyx is going to turn briefly and say, stay out of the path of that turret. Stay out of the path of the turret.
Acknowledge.
Yeah, so it's definitely an Imperial symbology, and it comes from some kind of Imperial research center, subsection on its symbols, but you can't tell which one in particular.
Can I open the crate?
Yeah, you can make me a kinematics check to try and open the crate. As you're trying to
Conifer
kind of
best.
lever the top of it off.
Cool. One D20. Absolutely, I think the fuck not.
Yeah, you gotta lift it up, but like you're relatively not designed for this casing of an AI, and as you try and lift it, you just can't get slightly up for you as well.
Okay.
But that will take your action. So if you want to do something else in this action, I should have said that before.
Quick, I think if I'm getting the vibes also that my plant, my little energy vine is getting a little antsy, I think Conifer is going to like set it down to do its own wiggling thing for a bit.
Mm-hmm. On the crate?
Yes.
All right. It kind of detaches from your wrist as you kind of lift it up, and it one of its ends touches that, and it detaches and begins to like coil around that. And something might happen. Otherwise, it will stop draining your energy slightly. And then finally, Lucira. Oh, hang on. Alejandro just went forward for a bit. Legally called Jorgen.
Jorgen.
Jorgen Handry.
Jorgen
Lucira.
Alejandri Bezos the Third.
Yeah, Lucira is heard Valis shout, "Just get to the door," which I assume is this yellow and black
Mhm.
thing at the top. So Lucira is just gonna book it, double dash for her turn. Excuse me.
Mhm. Sure. There's a
So
roller tool on the right if you can just measure out.
yeah. I think it's something like this if you're doing the 5, 15
No, you can do the normal.
diagonal.
Yeah, you do the
Just do normal.
diagonal.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great. Then I think I can get up to here. Oops. I believe that's
Yeah,
60
that makes
feet.
sense.
Yeah.
All right, back at the top, Arkash is kind of shouting at you, Valis, but you can't hear because he's out in space. He doesn't seem to comprehend that. But as he dashes forward, he doesn't dash, but as he jumps forward and he comes through the atmosphere, he's like, Valis, I gave you an order to stand down. We're trying to get to the Red Line to escape.
You know as well as I that you should be under arrest, and I don't work for you anymore. I turn to level my gun at him.
Well, if you don't work for me, as he continues to run off, then you don't need to arrest me, and we could both get out of here, although you can't come on the Red Line. He goes to hit his pass to open the door, and it comes back, insufficient access. God damn it.
Well, then perhaps you shouldn't have told the bandits to try to stop us.
The woman who is not saying anything because she can't hear anything, not vocalizing anything, is kind of looking over to where the kid.
Kid. It's a measuring tool. Is that accurate?
The measuring tool should be roughly accurate.
Okay.
It's not that far from the door to where you are.
Kid is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Is at least going to get here. They are going to double dash, as seemingly getting to the door is objective, but they are going to stop short of getting in front of the turret.
What?
So they're going to stop about here.
As your turn ends, the camera kind of pulls out into the vacuum of space, taking away, and we see the bandit captain flex her hand for a little bit, and then to the surface of her, she pulls up her sleeve, and to the surface of her forearm, blood roars, and it begins to swirl until her arm erupts into this giant. And she is screaming, but there's no sound. And as she runs and jumps forward, she fires an enormous spike of bone into the door next to Arkash to open. And it just opens, like a giant 5-foot hole in the door. And as she lands, she says, we do not want any trouble. I mean, I do want some trouble with you, Alejandri. And she points to him with this bone cylinder shooting on, and moves onwards. Nyx.
Nyx says, I want trouble with her. And she's taking stock of the situation. The hole was blown into the space next to the door, or it
It
forced the
basically
door
broke
open?
the door open.
Okay, so it's like a physical broken open thing.
Yeah, but it's not venting in space.
Got it. Nyx is going to turn her attention to the turrets. And her jaw is clenched as she tries to access that menu.
Sure, make a computers check.
Yep. Int again, I'm assuming. Because there's nothing crazy.
Yeah. Well, nobody's counter hacking you is the main thing.
Okay. Oof.
Yeah, you try and get into this computer system you just got into a second ago. And you kind of get all these warnings about how there was an attempted access breach in this area. So the whole network's on shut down. So it will be harder for you to get through, and that is your action.
Okay. Then what she's going to do instead is she's kind of like following Conifer essentially because they've pulled on her shirt, and she's peeking at that chest, but she's gonna like stop. She's gonna stop short of running her full distance because everybody's here and she is scared to get closer.
Alice.
I think it feels like the people with me want to kill these two people for different reasons, and I kind of want to kill Arkash because he's a fuck. And also, do I think I can like kill Arkash and maybe get a bonus for taking him out?
Contracts are pretty cut and dry, and your contract didn't include if you kill him, because that would be legally a gray area.
Right.
Like, person.
I think so. I'm definitely gonna move up to here, and I don't trust them. I'm gonna take another shot at the lady.
Okay. You don't have disadvantage now because right there. But yeah, that hits.
So I kind of walk up, like gun switching between the two of them for a second, and saying, I just shake my head and I say, maybe on a different day, but I don't know what's going on, and I don't trust either of you. I was like, I think her gun. I shoot her with her own gun.
Yeah, she only just realized, and as you shoot her, her eyes begin to bleed. And in your head, you see a small little pink girl with black hair tied to a table, just having like electricity and all of this stuff fired into her. And you're going to take some damage as she shares pain with you.
Do I need to make a save?
It's an escape save. I was about to say the first one was a 10. I'm rolling a percentile die.
I'm good on damage. I'm a little higher on these D10s. Oh, 13. It's probably fail.
You fail. I just rolled 3d10 for damage, and you take 4 points of damage.
4? That's it?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
So my shields.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So in your head, you feel the pain of her life as you take some of.
Does that go through my shields?
No, this one doesn't, despite the fact that it being psychic. It probably should, but that's fine. And she like shakes her head, and the blood flicks off. She's like, I really don't want to hurt any of you, except for, again, Alejandri. Actually, just let me have him. You guys can do whatever.
I glance back. He's with me.
Conifer.
As I get ready to shoot her again.
Okay. So I had set the vine on the box.
Yes, you had. Sorry, that should have happened already. In between Valis and Conifer's turn, the vine has kind of burrowed a little bit as it does, searching for that power. And you feel, firstly, a little bit of rumble from the box. And then as it, like, begins to get bigger and bigger, this rumbling. The top of it clatters off, and from out of it, this vine appears, now holding, like, essentially they're little batteries, but it's like come out holding the batteries and it's flinging them. Not with any thought,
Okay, cool.
because it's a
Um,
vine.
I just created a monster.
It's like a sprinkler system if you like getting hit in the face with batteries.
Good job.
Uh,
Excellent work.
Conifer, evoking the imagery that I've been doing a lot with Conifer. Conifer is going to once again like put their hands on the vine and like try to go, hey, can you chill out and maybe like throw the batteries not at these people that are by me?
All right, make a xenobotany roll. This one's with charisma.
Oh no.
I do like the idea of just everyone just in the middle of this very tense situation just getting showered by Duracells.
Wait,
Oh,
Xenobot,
that's space batteries.
Xenobotany I don't have a charisma stat for. I only have the int stat.
Oh, well, roll it with your. We'll just work out what your charisma is, because I think this one is too much. You're trying to use it like an instead of knowing how it works.
I think that would be plus 7 instead of plus 9.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I could have just made you roll leadership, but I think your understanding of this vine.
It's my buddy.
Well, you have a symbiotic relationship with it. You get it to the point where it's not throwing batteries at you guys, but because it has like retreated and is coiling around the battery, growing really like thick and fat from that energy.
No, wait, no, never mind. I don't have that ability. I did xenophysiology, not xenobotany. Damn. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick clarification question as well. How, and this is something I definitely should have done before we started. How many of my like materials for my stim packs do I currently have?
So you have 3 made, which I think is the maximum. I don't remember having read it. You have 3 of them made, and then you have more beyond that. But I'll give you a list of what you have in sessions but you have enough to make some more. But you have 3 of any of your choice made.
Cool. Have I already used my action at this point?
I'll call that a bonus action because you were right there, and you had to move your hand up there.
Okay.
You were right there, so.
And then I need to check range. Did I watch Valis get hit?
You probably couldn't tell that Valis got hit because A, the damage was so small, and B, it was.
I still think I would like to buff. Okay.
Yeah, buff me.
Buff. Valis if possible. I think one of the ones that I have is a prototype, so I get to roll on the fun side effects table.
Yeah.
Is
That's very funny.
Steel stem
or something.
Yeah, do that. They're worse than that. It's not a wild magic table.
Explode.
Okay. Just because cool shit.
So my memory of that is that because of the distance Valis is away from, ranged check first.
I have it. If there's a range for 30 to hit automatically, 90 to.
Yeah. So.
Oh,
I guess you're moving forward as well.
Yeah,
so
I am. I'm only
will be fine.
away from them.
Great. Yeah. So Valis, you heal 1, which does nothing. No shields. And then you also,
For no reason.
yeah, you feel filled with like some life. So yeah, you would heal 1. You gain resistance to the next source of damage, bludgeoning. As Conifer, what does it look like when you fire this stem?
So Conifer, it's I don't know if we'd already like fully established what this looks like beforehand, but they have like a little like opening in the palm of their hand where like that would have been like a place where like fertilizer or like different like pesticides might have come out historically, but they're able to take like they take a little like packet out from their bag, which also has all their like gardening tools and like some of their extra like plant life in it, and they stick it in this slot in their wrist and shoot it out like it's coming from a hose.
Roll a d20 as this prototype that you're pretty sure you've got right. Like, you've been doing it for a while. I don't have the table in front of me, so you'll have to tell
I do.
what that does.
So that's a 13. The target has -2 AC until the end of its turn.
Yep. Yeah, so you feel it and you're like, oh, actually, your skin starts feeling tougher. Like it's starting to solidify a little bit into bark. But then as you do that, you're like touching, you like put your fist together and that bark flakes off and you feel really sensitive underneath. So you'll have -2 AC till your next turn.
It's like bark
Yeah.
bark sunburn.
Yeah, it's like bark sunburn. Then, given that this bandit wants to kill him so much, Alejandri moves almost in the blink of an eye past Conifer, away from Nyx, past Conifer and Lucira, and even past Valorous, and then is sword in hand slashing towards his former leader as he just makes a melee attack. The benefit of being a steel, you're just always in melee range. Hitting her for not an enormous amount of damage, but a little bit. You see the sword cuts across her, and it finally breaks that shard of shield and cuts deep into her, where this blood starts to flow, and the blood is flecked with a gold in it. And then next up is Lucira.
Well, Lucira doesn't want to get shot, but also just watched Valis shoot this other lady, and Alejandro also go up and stab at this lady and shout some things at this other guy. So, Lucira is just gonna move up a little bit and is just kind of gonna try to maintain a little bit of that cover behind Valis.
Sure.
So she's just gonna move 10 feet and just be like, "What do you want me to do?" Kind of directed towards Valis. Do I shoot him or not?
I look over and I say, "Lady, you do what you want, but this is a fight. I recommend you use that gun."
Very funny.
She sighs very reluctantly, steps the 10 feet over this way to have line of sight, and will use her pistol against.
Sure. Make an attack roll against
Arkash.
when you're this close, Valis, Arkash has shaved most of it as part of being
Okay.
Not all of it, but a
Most
lot of
of
it
it.
is good.
Okay. So what I use for my bonus to that?
It's Dex plus your ranged skill.
Okay.
Well, it should just be your
It should
range
just be
skill.
on the character.
Oh, it's just
sheet.
there. Okay, I have the
Yeah.
thing in there. Okay, perfect. 19.
That misses. As,
We are heavily
you
armed.
pull up
A station.
you pull up the pistol, and it just plinks off this suit, and he looks down and he like brushes the scuff mark away. I can't believe you're firing on a security officer of
You
the
don't seem
heart.
like one to me.
You're traveling with a traitor. And he like points at Valis. His tie's a different shade of red than mine.
You
Oh
just
my
hear from
God.
across. You just hear from across the hangar. It's green.
The face, the betrayal on Arkash's face as he looks at the three of you that are now firing into Boujon, the ship, and just ducks through this door.
What's her name? Lujan?
He said Boujon.
Bujan.
Bougie.
Bougie.
Was that a
All right.
name or was that like a command? Like let's Bujan.
You don't know.
Get a booze on.
Get your booze on.
Got my Bujan.
Welcome to running a game, Jack.
All right, kid.
Very familiar.
You're up as Arkash has ducked completely out of space.
Okay. Kid having a very faint idea of what is happening, but mainly just recognizes the pink skin woman. Is going to move up by Conifer. And I imagine this entire time that they have been kind of like darting and kind of running across this place. Dart has just been trying to keep up with Kid, which stops next to Conifer, kind of spares a side glance over at them, kind of just gives like a sup, and just aims the gun down, the rifle down at the pink lady, and is going to take a shot as they also, while they're doing so. Hey! Pink bitch say what?
She looks at you as you pull the trigger, unimpressed by your attempt to make her call herself a bitch.
Kid just shrugs.
Yeah, so make your attack. Kid shrugs, which gives you +10.
Yeah.
Bonus.
It's just Kid's armor that's higher quality, correct?
Yes.
Okay, let me make sure. That was weird. There you go. 25.
Yes, that hits. It's not quite as good a hit as in 5e, where that would hit. But it does hit.
I mean, I'm level 1 and I have a +8.
Yeah,
Plus
she's
10.
not level 1. Alright, so roll your damage, and we'll see how irritated she is.
Let me make sure I roll
in a moment.
the right amount of damage.
They vary by your sniper rifle.
I guess. Okay. Making sure. $12.
Yeah, she's pretty annoyed. Not bloodied, but annoyed. She kind of, you see her like, she's trying to control herself to not just turn around and she starts to put her hands together and like counts on them, and Alejandri, Valis, and Lucira all are drawn to this like touching of her fingers. Just roll. that's not it. I forget that you have to type the full thing,
Oh, that's good.
but this is much
That's a lot.
easier.
That's a lot of dice.
Much easier than actually. It should be one more. You're like, yo, how did I make the
Slash-
exact same
slash
mistake
roll.
1 second later? Sorry. Alright,
6
so 20,
or
28.
What do we need to roll?
No roll. I need Maddie here for this first. So we will have to wait momentarily, unfortunately. I didn't think about this. I could have just not talked. Lucira,
I'm
I
back.
guess.
I'm good. I could hear you
No,
too.
what's your current hit point total?
9, because I took 2 earlier
Alright.
from falling.
Valis, what's your current hit point total?
I have 12. I assume my shields
I also
Don't
have
matter.
shields though
go
too.
back
Doesn't
yet?
matter for this one.
Okay.
So Alejandra's watching and is like, what are you even doing? Like, I've seen you do this before. It does nothing as Valis and Lucira both slump asleep. As this hypnotic pattern that she's playing on her fingers affects both of them. And she just salutes Alejandri really mockingly and says, you should tell them to not follow, because you know what to do. And then she just walks out. Next up, Nyx.
He doesn't attack.
Valis and
So wait,
no
I'll
attacks
see.
of opportunity.
Am I unconscious at 0 hit points?
Oh,
No,
there's
you're
no
asleep.
attacks of opportunity.
I'm just asleep. Okay.
Yeah, you have to have an ability for it, and since I didn't give you abilities before 3, I'm not
All right.
level 3. Nyx, you see Valis and Lucira kind of slump, but in a manner that is as if asleep rather than
Okay.
injured. Although
And
they might be injured by falling to the ground.
I wasn't able to see enough of what Pink Lady was doing to understand any of it, right? Like she's too far away, or
You can make a roll. Let me tell you what type of roll.
Right.
A primals check, please.
is that an action roll, or is that just
No,
like
that's
a
an
bonus?
ambient you get to know.
Okay.
Like, because you are a caster.
All right.
Did something. Did some kind of powerful thing. People
Yeah.
don't just fall asleep for no reason. Although in lectures at the academy sometimes.
So I think as Nyx is like standing here, are there still batteries spewed across the floor?
Yeah, there's a few. Also, they're like big batteries. They're not Duracell.
Yeah. All right. How much would a single one approximately weigh?
Approximately 6 pounds.
All right.
I know
Yeah.
you don't have catapult, but 6 pounds.
Yeah. Nyx is a salvager at heart, so she would probably try to grab one of those as she started running over to
Sure.
the others.
You can pick up a D4's worth on your way. Changing.
Okay. Yeah, she
Always
like tucks
the
her smart slave
engineer.
away.
Like,
She tucks her smart slave away, like for the batteries.
If Conifer sees you scooping up batteries, Conifer will shout, "Could you grab the one that my plant is attached to, please, and thank you."
She certainly does switch from reaching from an unoccupied one because she wasn't sure about this vine to like grabbing the battery and the vine as one.
I need you to make me a that's another kinematics roll to like pick this up because the vine is attached. Like, this is a lot of power for this vine to have.
She's not trying to take it away from the vine. She's trying to like carry the vine with the battery.
The problem is that the vine is connected to.
Oh. All right.
You're also good at physical skills. I don't know why you're worried by this. Yeah, that's fine. It's ultimately a piece of vine.
Yeah.
You feel a lot of resistance, and you kind of pull it, and it immediately begins to shape that it was opposed to this thick, power coursing vine.
Yeah, she says to the vine as she picks it up. No, you're coming with us. That's what the AI says, and sprints up to join the two of them. Let's see.
Sure, we'll move on to Valis. You're asleep. Conifer.
I'm also technically before Nyx, I think. Do my shields recharge still? And is that on my turn or at the start of the round?
With heroism?
Yeah.
It's whenever heroism would say. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's at the start of your turn.
It
And
just
yes,
says
you're-
start of the round. Of each round is what that's actually.
Sure, then it's start of each round. But you're asleep. Conifer.
Okay. This is spooky. So Conifer will take the vine back from Nyx very appreciatively, like touch it very gently before putting it back in its bag. What's the deal with these batteries?
Now that you're looking at them, they just seem to be batteries.
Okay.
They might be researched, like batteries that have had research done on them and be prototypes for something, but you don't immediately see anything about the scene for having applied engineering high. So they just look like batteries.
So Conifer will extract the vine from the battery, put the vine back in the bag. We'll hand the battery back to Nyx because Nyx clearly was interested in them. We'll mouth a thank you as best as a robot can, and I'm going to dash over to Lucira.
Mm-hmm.
And I can Conifer tell what has happened, why Lucira dropped?
You can't tell the why, but you are very versed in xenophysiology, and this is
You dropped out volume for me, but I'm going to assume you told me that it's sleep.
yeah, they're asleep. I will try and fix the volume thing.
Okay.
Now that I know it's a problem, but I'll do it after the session.
The door that those two passed through, is it still open?
Yeah, it's still got a 5-foot hole blasted through it.
In fact, it cannot be closed.
Yep.
Oh, cool. Love to see it. I'm going to shout up to who I know is Jorgen. Why are they doing this? What's going on?
But I think they just probably want to take the ship. Like, it's their ship.
And we're going to their ship? I thought it was his ship.
No, I don't know where we're going. I just know that their ship is there.
Okay. I don't think I have anything I can do, because I am level 1.
You can wake Lucira up by shaking her awake.
Okay. Well, we'll do that.
It's still sleep. Like, Lucira, you wake up from a nice dream of a political rally. Not that you dream that quickly, but you wake up. Alejandri / Jorgen is kind of looking at this 5 of you, 4 awake and now Valis. Says, you should trust her that she will start killing people. There's probably another ship, right? And he kicks Valis, not rudely, but kicks you awake while still with her sword. As you wake up and you wake up to him being like, "There's not the Redland ship, right? Like there's another ship."
I look up. I say, "We're not taking the red line." As I start to slowly stagger, obviously I
Then
can't get up yet. But...
Then we should leave them. Like, let them go.
Well, if they're leaving, fine. She said she was going to try to kill you.
Well, I mean, she could have.
It's not my turn, but
Yeah. So he's just waiting there, kind of vaguely stopping anyone that wants to go past to be like, "Are you sure?" But otherwise, we're waiting for Alice. Lucira, you are on the ground, but you're awake.
I will stand up. Get off the ground.
are we just out of initiative now, or do we have a
Yeah,
reason
yeah.
to stay in? Okay.
Oh, sorry, we're out of initiative.
Oh, okay.
Unless, Kid, you're specifically just going to sprint after them.
Yeah, shoot.
No.
Okay.
I just assumed that they would be like down the elevator by now because
Yeah.
they're
Well,
both going to get
the ship
jumped
they want
before.
is on this level as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
So I'm
it only
gonna
takes.
stand up and just
Go
be
ahead.
like, "What the hell are we doing?"
Valis gets up and says, "Follow me. We'll have to deal with those two later."
As you kind of step through the door, the red line is already preparing to take off, and just slowly pulls out of the hangar.
I'm gonna, out of idle frustration, just take a couple pot shots at it, knowing it's not going to do anything but scuff the paint, which I have a feeling will irritate her later on.
Sure, that happens. You hit it a few times, and we cut forward 2 days to like next time they can stop somewhere, and she's like looking at it, and she's like, "What happened? What happened to my ship?" It's that security man with the green tie.
I am going to I hop in the elevator and like as everybody's coming in, saying, "Let's get going. I feel like we need to get the fuck out of here."
The rocking of the ship of the space station that was slowly taken out of your immediate consciousness by the fight, it's coming back, and it's coming back with a vengeance now. And you head down into uh, a much bigger impound hangar. This upper level is like where they impound fighters and smaller ships, and you see uh, at the back, cleared out, this strange-looking ship. It's spherical in the majority of its body, but with a curved top down to like a quite square and blocky nose. It's a very unusual ship design. I can just show you, I suppose. I don't know how quickly this will switch over this map.
On Albert.
I love it.
We'll take a
yeah.
second.
You see it kind of at the back. It's such an unusual ship that none of you have seen. Nix, you've never seen a ship designed in this fashion. Valis, you have seen this exact ship before, but and the rest, even Lucira, who has been in the outer reaches of space, has not seen something so strangely cobbled together. Valis, you're hustling towards it. You see the walkway kind of fold out for you, almost as if waiting for you.
Is anybody else loading in the thing?
It
was loading
it said Jack left on mine. Nix was like idly lecturing Valis that there was no way that your hand weapon is going to do any damage to a ship's armor from this distance, especially when you aren't doing anything else. And then she sees this ship and just goes silent.
I just like give her like a look and like a.
Kid
now,
just
now
from
it's loading.
From the back of the elevator, just kind of. Nix is shocked. Kid just looks at this.
I quickly move in and say, "Take your seats. I have a feeling this is going to be a very bumper ride."
The computer comes on and goes, "Would you like to commence derelict protocols?"
Not today, Teresa, but we will be taking off.
To
The,
read
the,
them?
com- yeah,
Read
the
them.
computer cogitates for a moment as it's also starting up other life support systems. Takeoff cannot begin without dereliction protocols being run. You do not command the ship.
Okay, now I understand what dereliction protocols are. Previously, I was failing to understand it earlier, I would say. All right, then. Dereliction protocols as it is. I will instate myself as the new captain.
Excellent. What is your name?
Give me 1 second. Backstory.
Kidren bites down the urge to say green tie.
I can only presume
green
that
tie.
it's voice locked.
Well, it might register Kid as green tie and the captain.
He will say, Valis Madragosa Aloan Canto.
Initialized as vice captain. Prepare for faster than light travel. And despite none of you having done anything, the ship blinks out of existence. And we pan out to the bridge of one of the 4 ships firing. All we see is a leather-gloved right hand drumming its fingers against the chair that it's sitting in. It says, I don't suppose anyone else noticed that blip of energy. And there's 3 screens in front of it. And all of them are kind of shaking their head and it says, seems the unending has left the heart. We'll have to find it. The drumming gets more and more intense. As the man says, well, I trust you 3 can continue this devastation. And we just see like shadowy figures nodding on the screen as they begin a full barrage of the heart. And it begins to break apart till all that is left is debris. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the unending.
Or tree.
Meanwhile, on the bridge of the unending, you blink back into distance. The space immediately. There's like a blue tinge to the space around the heart and much of Imperial space. This is dark. There is simultaneously more stars in front of you and less stars in the area that you're around, as if you're towards the outer rim. Lucira, this is a more familiar, less. Do you all
cut
sit?
out for most of that, unfortunately.
This is a space that's more familiar for you, where there's like less density.
Okay.
Towards the outer rings. The 5 of you, 6 of you, sit on the bridge of this ship. As the computer comes on and says, Vice Captain Valis, do you prefer Valis or Canto?
Valis is fine.
Vice Captain Valis.
May I ask, who is the current captain?
The ship is the captain.
Fair enough.
There are low energy reserves, and we seem to be in the outer ring of the galaxy.
I kind of look at everybody else and say, well, all right.
Kid is.
I'll
pulling out
actually
their spell.
glance then at Nix and say, you said you're an engineer, right?
Nick says, like looking forlornly at her tiny batteries, and says, "This is not going to be enough power. I am an engineer. I can guarantee. Well, I can almost guarantee that we're probably not going to suffocate within the next few days. Pretty good at that. That's what I do.
Well, if you wouldn't mind taking a look at what fuel and things we have, you couldn't tell. This is this wasn't up until today my ship.
We follow Nyx as everybody kind of breaks off to do their own. Nyx, you're going towards where faster than light drive. You pass the standard engines, which are still active. You have enough fuel to kind of power them. You don't notice it, but all the lights are out now as you're moving toward the faster than light chamber. You kind of look back and all the lights are on, and then as you turn, the lights are off, but you don't think anything. As you continue onward and you enter the faster than light chamber, and when you would expect some kind of giant cylinder to combust the energy that is required for fire. This room is hollow, but for a floating sphere inside of which a yellow light permeates. And then as you look at it a little bit closer, a giant, for lack of a better analog, squid-like creature slams itself against the... And that's where we'll end this. But yes, I hope that everybody enjoyed the first episode, The Infinite. This ship art, which you will have posted, done by one of the artists in the Discord server. Troxy in the server, and Teresa Reality, hence the name.
Friend of the stream. Friend of
Yeah.
me and Jack.
Yeah. I felt it fitting to name the computer. So, I hope everybody had a good time.
Yeah.
What a weird ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's its own captain. That's the important thing. Legally.
Yeah. A question that I have though too, with the blinking in and out of existence traveling, did we notice that happened,
Yes.
or was it too fast for us to realize that we had
No,
transposed so quickly?
it took time to come back.
Okay.
So you just saw nothingness outside, like literal blank space outside the ship for a little bit.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then it all came back. But yeah,
And
I'm
this is
excited
not-
to...
This is not traditional faster than light travel, assuming.
No, faster than light travel still takes time, and you seem to go on to the outer ring of the galaxy in a matter of minutes.
Yeah,
But
I figured that would be like...
these are all questions for next week.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So join us again. The time is in the Discord channel. Should the links are all on our Twitch. Thank you, everybody who watched, and anybody who watches in the future. YouTube. I'm very excited for what this bunch of weirdos gets up in a now infinite universe. Thanks for watching.